Hi and welcome to another Frank Answers Your Questions. I would say that there's probably not a week goes by when somebody doesn't ask me a question some way connected to setting goals. And I suppose the reason behind that is no matter what business you're in, goals are vitally important. Whether you're a manager, you need to set goals and agree goals with people. Whether you're a salesperson, you need to set your own goals maybe and for sales. Whether you're somebody who's just not even employed that wants to set goals for their own life, all aspects of life evolve around goals, because if you don't know where you want to get to in life, it doesn't matter what road you take. So this video here is to kind of just talk to you about goal setting in a very basic format. And I'm sure that by now most of you have heard of the acronym SMART, which means specific, measurable, achievable, and by the way, in appraisals and managing performance, it also means the A also stands for agreed, realistic, and time frame. And really, when we look at goals, it is important that we consider goals being smart. The other thing that's important is that we understand that if our goals are not written down and they're not time framed, there's not a time frame around them, then really they're probably only dreams and they're not likely to happen. It has been said, and I don't know that there's a great story years ago about, I think it was Harvard University or some university in the States, where people wrote down their goals, and then it was in their final year, and then so many years afterwards they went back and there was a study done about how successful these people were, and the results were phenomenal. Now it's either Harvard or Yale, and you find it on the internet. Just put in goal setting Harvard or Yale and it'll come up, and the results are phenomenal. And it's all about the difference between the two sets of people that were tested. Was one group wrote their goals down, the other group didn't. So there is a massive impact on actually writing your goals down. So let's go back to the acronym SMART and let's just look at it in a little bit more detail. S stands for specific. And really what that means is that the goal has to be clearly understandable. People need to know exactly what the goal is. The more specific you can make the goal, the easier it is for somebody to achieve it. It should be easily communicated and it should be exact. So the more specific we can make it and the more we can get people to see the goal, the easier it is for people to achieve it. The M, that stands for measurable. And I know I said it on other videos, what gets measured gets done, inspect what you expect, all of these things. But you have to have some form of measurement. You have to have ways to check, are you on track? And for example, whether we call them milestones or whether we call it benchmarking or whatever we call it, we need to have a track that says, okay, if this has got to be done in this amount of time, where do we need to be here? Where do we need to be here? Where do we need to be here? And where do we need to be at the end? And we need to keep a track on, are we on course? Are we on track? So really, we need to look, because it's all about the progress of the goal towards the goal. It's all about tracking that progress, and measurement is about tracking that progress. Achievable. Let's just deal with achievable for a second. The question that often people say is, when we look at SMART goals, people often say, well, achievable and realistic are the same. Well, they're not really. What I mean by that is, when we look at the word achievable, the question we ask is, can it be done? Also the question we ask is, has it been done? And if something can be done or has been done, then it is achievable. We know that. We know it's achievable. And so when we look at A, the A stands for achievable. Can it be done? Has it been done? It also stands for agreed, when you're trying to agree a goal with somebody. But then we look at the R, and the R stands for realistic. And there is a difference, because we do say, has it been done? Can it be done on achievable? And realistic, what is the likelihood of it being done? So let me give you an example of what I'm saying here. If we ask a simple question, and the simple question is, can you run a mile in less than 4 minutes? The answer, if I set a goal to somebody, it said to run a mile in less than 4 minutes, and then they said, is it achievable? The answer is yes, of course it's achievable. And the reason it's achievable, because it's been done. It was originally done by, I think the 4 minute mile was broken by a guy called Roger Bannister, I think in the 1950s, and it's been actually done by many people ever since. So yes, it can be done. Now, I don't know who's looking at this video, I don't know who you are, I don't know anything about you, but the likelihood is if I then said to you, well, okay, how realistic is it for you to turn this video off and go and run a mile in less than 4 minutes? And for most of the population, it's not realistic. So they are two different things. Achievable, yes, it can be done. Realistic, what is the likelihood of you or somebody that you're speaking to being able to do this? So then you say as a manager, well, okay, if it's not realistic, but I need to get it done, can I do something to make it realistic? Can I do something? So, for example, if we just keep on the same basis at the 4 minute mile, is it achievable to run a mile in less than 4 minutes? Yes. Is it realistic for you or for me? Probably not. Okay. But if we then said, okay, but it's important that we do this, how can I make it realistic? Well, then I might say, okay, if I make it realistic for me, and I may never make it realistic, by the way, but if I wanted to try and make it realistic, I might say, okay, I need to get a personal trainer in, I need to look at my diet, I need to look at my exercise regime, I need to start setting mini goals on the way to achieving the 4 minute mile, I might need to get somebody working with me, I might need to get a professional working with me, I might need to do, I don't know what I need to do, I might need to join a local gym, a local running club, what might I need to do? And even with all them things, I may never make it realistic because it depends where you're at. But there is a difference, okay, between achievable and realistic. And the same in business, you know, is it achievable to get all these tasks done on my to-do list? Of course it's achievable. But is it realistic for me to get them done today? That's a different question. And the answer might be yes, it is realistic if I'm able to go and find a place in the corner and nobody, I don't have to answer any emails, I don't have to answer any telephone calls, I don't have to answer any queries from any of my team. Then if I have all that time today to myself to go through my to-do list, then it might be realistic. But that might not be realistic either. So they are two different things. And then the final thing is T stands for time. What is the time frame? As I said earlier, a goal that's not written and doesn't have a time frame is probably only a dream. You have to put time frames around it. So when we look at goal setting, whether you're goal setting for your life, or whether you're goal setting for business, or whether you're goal setting for your team, or whether you're goal setting as a salesperson, whether you're goal setting as an individual, it doesn't matter. As a sports person, the same thing. I was actually in a meeting last night talking with somebody, and we were talking about the importance of training for sports people. And you know, even with that, you need to set yourself goals. So you need to have specific, how clear is it? Measurable, how are you going to measure it? Achievable, is it achievable? If you're agreeing goals with other people, has it been agreed? Is it realistic? Is it realistic for me to do? And if not, how can I make it realistic if I can? And what is the time frame that I'm going to work within for that? And it really is important, because if we can get this aspect right, whether you're managing people or whether you're managing yourself, or whether you're trying to make a life for yourself with your own goals and everything like that, it really, really is important. So hopefully we've been able to kind of cover off some aspects of the SMART goal setting principle and how important it is. And I hope you got something from today. Thank you for tuning in, and feel free to tune in any other time to any others of our videos. So thank you again, and look forward to speaking with you again soon. And remember, when you're setting goals, the SMART way is the best way. Thank you.